Good morning. I think we're live. Let me double check. Make sure the stream's going, and we'll jump right into it. Let me double check. I think we should be good to go. That's not right. Just double checking that the stream is going, and we'll go from there. Good morning. I think we're live. Let me double check. Okay, I got it. Good morning. How are you? Welcome to the Morning Hash. It is March 28th, 2025, 5:33 a.m. Central Standard Time. There's a lot to get to today. There always is. Sorry. To figure this out real quick. Okay. Boom, there we go. Let's start off with, I just opened up Twitter this morning to look for some news, some different things, and this is one of the first things I saw. So I'm just going to throw some random shit out there too. We got some big stories, but this is from Non-Aesthetic Things on Twitter, and it says, India is the most random place on the planet. Like, why? And this is a 100-foot chariot collapsing during a festival in India. Like, are there people on this fucking thing? What did you think was going to happen? I'm very happy these people are going to have work visas. In Karnataka, India, March 22nd. This is from 2024. Jesus fucking Christ. Well, good morning. How are you? Let's start off with one more thing that's going to get people all riled up. You probably saw, have you seen this? Have you heard about this? Here's Donald Trump. No matter how many surgeries you have or chemicals you inject, if you're born with male DNA in every cell of your body, you can never become a woman. Let's hear the POTUS.
If you're born with male DNA in every cell of your body, you can never become a woman. You're not going to be a woman.
That's true.
And that's why last month I proudly signed a historic executive order to ban men from competing in women's sports, and it was very popular. There aren't too many people. You know,
good. It's very sad that we've arrived at a time in our history where we have to even talk about this, but here we are. I'm just glad that we finally have someone who's got the balls to stand up and say this shit. I don't agree with President Donald Trump on everything, but he's got the balls to say things that need to be said. So I am happy about that. So there's that. And then speaking of DEI, what is this? Hold on. President Donald Trump has announced you will never be a woman. What the hell? Hold on a second. This is from Kiwi Farm. Now, I think this
never become a woman. You're not going to be a woman. And it was very popular and very...
That's the very same video, but someone added a reader's added content. They put a community note on here that said, 20 years ago, in 2005, the prevalence of autism was 1 in 125 children, not 1 in 20,000. There must be more to this clip, and they added context to something that's not included in this clip, I suppose. That's odd. What, Kiwi Farms, you have a gotcha on something he doesn't even mention in the clip that you posted? Okay, whatever. But speaking of DEI, this is from the Daily Wire. This is March 27th, 2025. The National Diversity Council files for bankruptcy and says its top employees stole millions. Who would have thunk it? And this is Dennis Kennedy. I haven't read this yet, but this is Dennis Kennedy on the left here, and I'm guessing this is one of the top employees who stole millions, maybe. And, of course, he's standing next to this fucking pig, Hillary Clinton. A prominent diversity, equity, and inclusion nonprofit declared bankruptcy this month. Gee, It's hard to keep in business without all of those U.S. AIDS tax dollars pumping you full of funds, isn't it? It's amazing that you can't stand on your own merit, right? Because if you could, you wouldn't need all those taxpayer dollars because you would produce something that people want. You would produce a good or a service or something that people would actually pay for, that people would say, oh, I'll give you money because that's actually helping people. But you don't actually help people. You have to force the government to give you, or you have to beg the government and force other people to give you their tax dollars in order to stay in business, because nobody actually wants your bullshit, and your bullshit actually doesn't produce anything. A prominent diversity, equity, and inclusion nonprofit declared bankruptcy this month after its board accused its founder and top employees of stealing millions of dollars, a Daily Wire investigation found. Bill Clinton and Oprah Winfrey are set to keynote a conference run by the alleged thief, apparently through his for-profit firm, next month. The National Diversity Council filed for bankruptcy on March 17th after its board said in a lawsuit that its founder, R. Dennis Kennedy, yes, Dennis Kennedy, this gentleman right here, I'm sure he identifies as black or something, improperly paid himself millions of dollars from NDC's donor funds. The suit said Kennedy paid himself a grossly excessive salary while using the nonprofit as a front for his for-profit diversity consulting business called Diversity and Leadership Incorporated. God. The group's 22... I mean, we have these stories are coming out of all of the woodwork, all over the country. Like, you guys heard of Tiffany Hayward, the super mayor that, as she so aptly called, out of Dalton, Illinois, where she's basically bankrupt the entire city, just giving herself a lavish lifestyle and paying for like her own security and like Cadillacs and Tahoes and stuff like that, and giving herself trips and everything, and putting all of her friends in high positions and paying them big salaries and everything like that. I mean, this is what happens. This is what happens when you have DEI and not merit. You put people into positions who don't deserve them, who haven't earned them. What do you think they're going to do? It's not only that they don't have the talent and the skills and the experience to do the job well. It's that they may not have good character, right? Most people who work their way up the ladder, it's a combination of skills and character, right? I'm not saying that there aren't pieces of shit who don't work their way up the ladder. There's plenty of them. A lot of them are in the executive branch of governments and businesses and nonprofits and everything. But I would say that most people, right, it's a combination of their merit, their productivity, and their talent and their skills, and them knowing how to treat people well, or at least treat people with respect, right? They have good character. Part of this DEI thing is not only do these people not deserve it because of merit or lack thereof, they also lack the character necessary to be effective leaders. Okay? And absolute power corrupts absolutely. All of these executive positions will always attract people who just want power, who just want authority, who just want money, who just want to seek control. Excuse me. The group's 2020 IRS disclosure said Kennedy was paid $450,000 for 10 hours of work per week. Boy, is that white privilege or is that white supremacy? I'm confused. In 2022, at the height of the corporation's DEI hype, Kennedy, Chief Executive Officer Angeles Valenciano, and Chief Financial Officer Jason DeGroot also unilaterally decided that they were owed almost $3 million in back pay, and then paid themselves more than $1 million of donor funds, the lawsuit said. As board members became suspicious and determined that there was no basis for the payments, Kennedy systematically moved the nonprofit's trademarks and web domains into his own name and essentially created a fake organization with the same name that would trick people into paying him directly, the suit indicated. Kennedy, Valenciano, and DeGroot conspired to protect their scheme and ill-gotten gains by attempting to destroy NDC and move its resources and partnerships to another organization where they could continue exploiting donors' funds and the organization's resources with minimal oversight, it said. The suit said the trio's conduct gives rise to criminal liability, at a minimum a third-degree felony. Sometimes these ne'er-do-wells who find themselves in executive positions, they tend to have I don't know, they can do some creative accounting, right? They know how to flip things around a little bit. And if they just put as much effort into doing that bullshit, into actually doing the job well, the world might be a better place. But they're heavily incentivized to do this by money, their lust for money and power, and the penalties are not nearly harsh enough. I certainly hope that with our new administration and the way things are going, I certainly hope that criminals start to be punished a lot more harshly, because we need to start sending messages to people. Let's see. NationalDiversityCouncil.org now leads to a website of an organization that purports to be the National Diversity Council, listing Kennedy as its founder. Okay. So let's see. Basically, here's all the funds. Let's go down a little bit. Taxes. Okay. In 2024, in what was advertised as the conference's 21st year, Hillary Clinton, Magic Johnson, Castro, and Eric Holder, Julian Castro, that is, the former Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, and Eric Holder spoke for $8,900. It's kind of weird there. For $8,900, participants could take photos with each keynote speaker listed on the speaker's page, except for Hillary Clinton. Okay. So basically, I just wanted to bring that up because that's DEI for you in a nutshell, I suppose. What do I have next? Speaking of DEI, I saw this as well. This was posted 10 hours ago from End Wokeness. This is Tim Walz blathering on about something. Let's find out.
That our strength
It's really quiet. Hold on a second.
is our diversity.
Wow, that's really quiet.
We've been talking about this for years as a country of immigrants, and we let them.
Let me see if I can find a better one of that. Let's see. Let me see. It's Tim Walz like doubling or tripling down on something DEI. Let me just double check and see if I can find a better one. What the fuck is this? Hold on a second. Now I found something else we might have to react to. I just want to find... So this is Tim Walz. If not, I won't spend a huge amount of time.
Strength is our diversity. We've been talking
Well,
about.
okay, I think it's quiet everywhere.
Is our diversity.
Yeah, okay, never mind. Okay. This is Tim Walz talking about wokeness and DEI. Let's see if we can hear it. I'll turn it up.
That our strength is our diversity. We've been talking about this for years.
He says our strength is our diversity. We've been talking about this for years. And this is a congressional town hall with Tim Walz and Beto O'Rourke.
As a country of immigrants.
Calling us a country of immigrants.
And we let them define the issue on immigration.
And he's saying that conservatives, they're allowing us to define immigration, the issue of immigration.
We let them define the issue on DNI.
They're letting us define the issue of DEI.
DEI, and we let them define what woke is.
And they're letting us define what woke is.
We got ourselves in this mess because we weren't bold enough to stand up and say, you damn right we're proud of these policies. We're going to put them in, and we're going to execute them.
Say that again?
This mess because we weren't bold enough to stand up and say, you damn right we're proud of these policies. We're going to put them in, and we're going to execute them. And so...
He says that the Democrats are in this mess because they haven't been bold enough with their DEI message, with their woke message, with their message on immigration. He is doubling and tripling and quadrupling down. He says they haven't been doing it enough. This is absurd. The Democrats are never going to win another election. which is exactly why they're turning to violence. They're never going to win another election. Not like this. They are so disconnected from reality. They have no idea why they lost. They think that they just haven't done enough DEI. They haven't done enough to push people. It's unbelievable. When I was listening to Tim Cass the other day, they were talking about a poll where something like, in total, 51% of all Democrat voters either A, believe that the party is just the right amount of left, or B, they want the party to go even further left, right? So 51% of Democrat voters either A, think that the Democratic Party is right where it needs to be, or want it to go further. So the majority of Democrat voters still want to they still want to push this stuff or go even further, like Tim Walz, which means that other 49%, you're going to continue pushing more of them away. And those people might not go for Trump, but they're not going to vote for Democrats. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And now Trump's going to push through this, the voter ID mandates and the paper ballots and everything, which of course is 100% the right thing to do. That is good. There is no reason we shouldn't be doing that. And I also do agree, I think Democrats are pushing this too, that the presidential election voting day should be a national holiday. I'm cool with that, so we can get as many people voting as possible. I'm totally cool with that. We can have the discussion all day if you want, if voting is, makes a difference or not because of the uniparty and some other things. But at the very least, we need to do something to get people more engaged in civic issues, in governmental affairs, because that's exactly how we actually got into this mess, is people weren't paying attention. Okay, we've been lied to and people weren't paying attention, but I digress. Democrats, what are you going to do? You're going to keep pushing this shit down people's throats? Apparently you are. Oh, and by the way, when Democrats are getting all the abortions, when Democrats aren't having kids and gay relationships where they can't have kids, in 20, 30 years, where are all your new voters going to come from? So you're continuing to push people away, and you're also basically destroying your own party. What are you guys going to do? I don't know. But this is exactly why they're committing acts of terrorism and violence, because they're a dying creature and they're lashing out. That's what a dying creature does. Oh, my. What a start, huh? What a start. What time is it? 5:51 already. Now, before we get into this next story, because we're going to be sitting here for a minute, I'm just going to get up. I am going to take a quick little run to the restroom. I'll be right back, okay? Don't go nowhere. Just a minute. Be right back. I told you that'd be quick. Okay. All right. Okay, all right. Okay. All right, so let's get into our... This is the big story for the day. This is Zero Hedge, and this was originally on YouTube, on Tucker Carlson's show. The title of this article... excuse me. This is existential. Billionaire cancer researcher says COVID and vaccine likely causing surge in aggressive cancers. This is pretty, not the longest article, but it's got a lot of information in it. And I highly suggest that you go and you watch Tucker Carlson's. It's like a 2-hour video on his YouTube page. I didn't watch the whole thing yet. I didn't have time to watch the whole thing yet, but I watched a little bit of it. So let's get into it. Okay. Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong, a transplant surgeon turned biotech billionaire renowned for inventing the cancer drug Abraxane, has issued a startling warning in a new in-depth interview with Tucker Carlson. Soon-Shiong, founder of Immunity Bio and owner of the Los Angeles Times, claims that the COVID-19 pandemic and the very vaccines developed to fight it may be contributing to a global surge in terrifyingly aggressive cancers. In the nearly 2-hour conversation, the Los Angeles Times owner leveraged his decades of clinical and scientific experience to outline why he suspects an unprecedented cancer epidemic is unfolding. This report examines Dr. Soon-Shiong's background and assertions, the scientific responses for and against his claims, new data on post-COVID health trends, and the far-reaching implications if his alarming hypothesis proves true. Isn't that something? It reminded me of something I heard. Let me see. What the hell is this? I believe someone was developing a new cancer drug, but I'm just... Aha, that's what it is. It triggered a little something. I could have sworn I heard something. Pfizer has stunned the medical... This is January 11th, 2024. Pfizer, I won't go into this article, but Pfizer has stunned the medical world, completing the $43 billion acquisition of Seagen, a small drug company that treats turbo cancers and barely makes $2 billion a year. The acquisition means Pfizer becomes the largest oncology company in the world, capable of treating most turbo cancers caused by mRNA vaccines. What a fucking shock. Create the problem, create the solution. There's a reckoning coming for the medical health industry, the medical industrial complex. There is a massive reckoning coming. And if you can, do everything in your power to stay away from it. Okay? Because if you're going to doctors a lot, you're probably not in that good of health. Get away from them, okay? I digress. Let's get back to the article. Dr. Soon-Shiong's claims. Soon-Shiong is a veteran surgeon and immunologist who has spent a career studying the human immune system's fight against cancer. He pioneered novel immunotherapies and even worked on a T-cell-based COVID vaccine booster during the pandemic. In the interview, he draws on this background to voice deep concern over rising cancer cases, especially among younger people, something he describes as a non-infectious pandemic of cancer. He tells Carlson that in 50 years of medical practice, it was extraordinarily rare to see cancers like pancreatic tumors in children or young adults, yet recently such cases are appearing. For instance, Soon-Shiong was alarmed by seeing a 13-year-old with metastatic pancreatic cancer, a scenario virtually unheard of in his prior experience. I never saw pancreatic cancer in children. The greatest surprise to me was a 13-year-old with metastatic pancreatic cancer, Soon-Shiong told Carlson, adding that he's seen examples of very young patients, even children under 11 with colon cancer, and unusual surges in aggressive diseases like ovarian cancer in women in their 30s. These personal observations of more frequent aggressive cancers in youth led him to probe what might have changed in recent years. We're clearly seeing an increase in certain types of cancer, like pancreatic cancer, ovarian cancer, colon cancer in younger people. And that was a quote from Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong, excuse me. Just real quick, because this is how my brain operates. Let me... see if I can find something real quick. It reminds me of something. You guys ever heard of the Deagle Report? I believe it's the Deagle Report. Yeah, there it is. In 2014, Deagle, I don't know if you can even locate it. I don't even know if it's still posted. But in 2014, the Deagle report, Deagle.com, published predictions of massive population declines happening abruptly before the year 2025, mostly in Western countries. Now, obviously, we haven't seen a massive one yet. But they predicted that, here, this was the Deagle report in 2025. This is my, conspiracy, like dig deep rabbit hole mind going into. I'm not saying that this is, I'm just throwing this stuff out there because I find it interesting that people throw it out there and talk about this stuff, okay? But the Deagle report estimated that by 2025, that the population of the United States of America would be reduced to 99,553,100. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know if you can find that full report online anymore, but anyway, maybe we'll go into that at some point. Let's get back to the article. According to Sun Xiong, the COVID era is the obvious change when it comes to seeing all these turbo cancers, as an editorial, and suggests that both the SARS-CoV-2 virus infection and the widespread vaccination campaigns could be key drivers behind this cancer spike. He emphasizes the massive scale of human exposure to the virus and its spike protein via infection or vaccination. Let's see. Quote, I don't know how to say that without saying it. It scares the pants off me because I think that I don't think it's virus versus man now. This is existential. I think when I talk about the largest non-infectious pandemic we're afraid of, this is it. Billions of people, literally billions, had the COVID virus. Over 1 billion got the spike protein vaccine, said Carlson, adding, so that's like, we're talking like a huge percentage of the Earth's population, unless I'm missing something. Now, quote, and this is back to Doctor, now you understand what keeps you awake at night and kept me awake at night for 2.5 years, Sun Xiong replied, suggesting that exposure to both is silently undermining the immune system's natural defenses against cancer on a global scale. Sun Xiong frames COVID-era cancers as potentially virally triggered or exacerbated. In the interview, he described cases of virally induced cancers in clinics during the pandemic. Patients whose cancers may have been kicked into overdrive by the cascade of inflammation and immune stress associated with COVID-19. Excuse me. COVID infection causes a massive inflammatory response, and some cancers are known to exploit inflammation to grow. Tucker, a lot of people have pointed to both COVID, the virus, and the mRNA COVID vaccines as potential causes. Do you think that they're related? Sun Xiong, the best way for me to answer that is to look at history. What we know about virally induced cancers is well established. We know that if you get hepatitis, you get liver cancer. Hepatitis is a virus infection. We know if you got human papillomavirus, whatever, HPV, you get cervical cancer. We know that certain viruses directly cause cancer, e.g. HPV or Epstein-Barr, so it's not unprecedented for a virus to play a role in oncogenesis. While SARS-CoV-2 is not a known oncovirus, Sun Xiong worries its indirect effects, chronic inflammation, immune exhaustion, or suppressor cells that emerge in the wake of infection vaccination could be accelerating tumor development. The answer is to stop the inflammation, clear the virus from the body. He argues, positing that until we eradicate lingering virus and restore immune balance, we may see mounting cancer cases. Excuse me. The human immune system, perfected, evolved over tens, if not hundreds of thousands of years of evolution to keep us alive, to keep us strong, to keep us going. Right? And there's another story after this we'll get into that. But and then all of a sudden we come along and we know it's best by injecting an experimental poison into our system, and we expect to remain healthy. I mean, if you really stop and think about it, and you look, this guy's talking about history. If you look at history, none of this makes sense, right? How the human body has survived, how humanity has survived, and then all of a sudden we come along, we get this massive genetic pharmaceutical company creating this concoction. Oh, and by the way, a virus that was created in a lab. So a virus created in the lab, sent out into the population of Earth, a so-called, heavy air quotes, vaccine cure created in the lab, experimental, still not approved by the FDA, by the way. It's still emergency use authorization, which, why is it still emergency use authorization, by the way? We're not in a so-called pandemic right now. Still hasn't been approved, okay, created in a lab by a pharmaceutical company. So both of these things created in a lab and pushed out onto the populace of Earth. And we're surprised that billions of people are getting sick? No, we're not. Okay, some people might be, I'm not. And then, of course, Pfizer comes along and is now going to sell you the cure, right, for the turbo cancers. We'll see how long Dr. Fauci's immunity lasts. Let's see. In sum, Dr. Sun Xiang's claim is that the pandemic has set the stage for an explosion of aggressive cancers. The COVID virus itself, especially if it persists in survivors, might suppress immune surveillance, and the mRNA vaccines that didn't stop it might inadvertently contribute to an immunosuppressive environment. These effects, in his theory, could be unleashing cancers that the immune system would ordinarily have kept in check. Is this just a little clip?
Doctor, thanks a lot.
Whoa, sorry about that. No, this is the whole thing. This isn't a little clip. Go check it out on Tucker Carlson's channel on YouTube. It's about an hour and 48 minutes. Let's see. There's a bit more here in this article, but I mean, let's just go ahead and finish it. Because this is extremely important. I don't think I have to tell you that. A number of clinicians and researchers have reported similar worrying observations, though these remain largely anecdotal at this stage. One prominent voice echoing Sun Xiang's concern is Dr. Angus Dalgleish, a veteran oncologist and professor at St. George's University of London. In late 2022, Dalgleish wrote to the BMJ's editor after noticing that some cancer patients who had been stable for years experienced rapid progression of their disease after a COVID-19 booster. He cited cases of individuals who were doing well until shortly after vaccination, new leukemias, sudden appearance of stage 4 lymphomas, and explosive metastases in patients who had post-vaccine bouts of feeling unwell. Speaking of post-vaccine, let me locate something real quick. I don't think they've mentioned it in this article yet. But let me see if I can find it real quick. Yeah, so it just reminded me of that. They're talking about patients who had post-vaccine bouts of feeling unwell. Well, turns out, let's see. This is very urgent. Top Yale scientists have found of T-cell exhaustion and prolonged spike protein induction in some COVID vaccine recipients, with spike levels increasing over time. And they pinned this they call it PVS, post-vaccine syndrome. They wrote that in this extensive research report that they just released not too long ago, back in February, it looks like. Yeah, disturbing. Yale researchers have found that some COVID jab recipients show signs of a depleted immune system and continue producing spike proteins years after the shot. This is bad news, very bad. What was once called a conspiracy theory is now backed by science. Vaccine spike proteins can linger in the body for years, potentially causing chronic inflammation and long-term health problems. Even more alarming, some patients experienced Epstein-Barr virus reactivation, while others had dangerously low levels of vital immune cells. The COVID jabs were sold to us as the solution to end the pandemic. Instead, it looks like they wrecked the immune system and made things worse. There is a huge reckoning coming. Imagine, if you will. You're like a 40, 45. I'm 40. Okay? Imagine I go to the doctor, right? Maybe I've been going to the same general practitioner for 15 years, right? I know the guy. I like the guy. Hell, maybe we've even played golf. I've done everything he's told me to do. It's like, I trust you, doc. There's not a thing in the world you do to harm me, right? The Hippocratic Oath, first do no harm. There's not a, you wouldn't harm me. You wouldn't lie to me. It's like, no. It's like, you've seen me through some sicknesses, some illness, some hard times, so I trust you. So I go to Doc in March of 2020, and I say, Doc, hey, this COVID thing is freaking everybody out. What do I do? And he says, well, we got this new vaccine. You should take it. I said, really? Does it help? He says, yep, sure does. It'll prevent the spread. You won't get it. And even if you do get it, it won't be that bad. I was like, really? He said, yeah. Like, trust the science. Yeah, the FDA emergency approved it. What do you got to worry about? Hell, Anthony Fauci said, yeah, go for it. He's a doctor. He's at the top. This is my institution. This is my cultural, my societal institution of the medical industrial complex. Why would you question it? Okay? I'm not going to question it. I'm getting paid well. I went to school. I'll just refer back to the textbooks and what the NIH and the CDC says. I trust them. I don't ask questions, so neither should you. So take the shot. Oh. Well, sounds good, Doc. Hit me up. Puts in the shot. And then maybe a few months later, I go get my booster. And then maybe a few months after that, I go get my next booster. And both times, the doc's like, yep, you're good. You're good. No worries. But then let's say, I don't know, I start having seizures. And I start feeling like shit. And I find out that I've got a tumor or something in my brain or my colon or my pancreas. And then I read something like this. And I go back to Doc and I say, hey, Doc, what the fuck? You lied to me. You lied to me. First, do no harm. Why didn't you tell me that this was untested, right? That they rushed this through and that this was a lot more experimental that you were letting on? Why did you lie to me? That's coming. Mark my words. That's coming. The lawsuits are coming. The anger is coming. There is going to be a reckoning. Okay? Let's go on with the original article. I am experienced enough to know that these are not coincidental, Dalgleish, and this is going back to the new leukemias, the sudden appearance of stage 4 lymphomas, explosive metastases in patients who had post-vaccine bouts of feeling unwell. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. I am experienced enough to know that these are not coincidental, Dalgleish wrote, noting that colleagues in Germany, Australia, and the United States were independently seeing the same problem. So worldwide, we had doctors all over the world seeing issues. And of course, these doctors were silenced. You could not talk about this stuff. Again, it goes back to you can't question the institution. The institution is right. Shut your mouth and take the shot. This frontline testimony aligns with Sun Xiang's fear. Something about the immune system post-vaccination might be removing restraints on latent cancers. Dalgleish specifically pointed to the short-term innate immunosuppression after mRNA vaccination, lasting for several weeks, as a plausible mechanism. Many of the cancers he saw were ones normally held in check by immune surveillance, melanomas, and B-cell cancers, so a temporary post-vaccine drop in immune vigilance could allow a tumor growth spurt. He also alluded to suppressor gene suppression by mRNA in laboratory experiments, a reference to preliminary studies that found that the SARS-CoV-2 spike protein might interfere with key DNA repair or tumor suppressor proteins in cells. These lab findings, while not yet confirmed in living organisms, lend some biological plausibility to the idea that spike exposure could affect cancer-related pathways. So this was a reference to a preliminary study that found that the spike protein from this COVID vaccine might interfere with DNA repair or tumor suppression. Now, remember, this is why... Remember, let me see if I can locate it real quick. The state of Kansas in the United States was suing Pfizer. Let me see if I can locate it real quick. They were. There it is right there. This is why, look, they knew. This is from November 19th of 24. There's a post on X. Truth is coming. Kansas is the first state of many who is suing Pfizer for misleading information given to Kansas consumers. Pfizer marketed the vaccine was safe for pregnant women. However, in 2016, I want you to think about that. When was the vaccine rushed through? Operation Warp Speed, when was that? They said they had to cobble it together real quick and package it, and it's like, oh, we got to get on this. We need billions of dollars, emergency use. We need billions of dollars from the federal government right now so we can do this research right now and get this out to the public and help you. They had this in 2016. Pfizer marketed the vaccine was safe for pregnant women. It just says pregnant, but however, in 2016, they had possession of a study that showed more than half of the pregnant women who took the vax had an adverse event. More than 10% reported a miscarriage. Safety relating to heart conditions like myocarditis, and the CEO said they had not seen a single signal, which was not true. They knew the vax caused myocarditis. Pfizer said the vax protected against the variants, but at the time, data showed the vax was effective less than half the time. So less than half the time, the vax would actually help prevent the COVID virus, but more than half the time, it would cause a birth complication, a pregnancy complication. About transmission, Pfizer urged Americans to get the vax, indicating that getting the vax stopped the transmission of COVID. Pfizer later admitted that they never even studied transmission. Pfizer also engaged in censorship attempts with social media. Attempts? They did. They didn't attempt, they did. With the help of the Biden administration and the leaders at Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and Google and all that. Kansas is the first of 5 states to file lawsuits. One of 5 states. What are the other states? I won't. We'll find that later, maybe. Good. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Boy, oh boy. Let's see. Where did we leave off? So DNA suppressor cells, lab findings, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's where we ended. This is almost, well, okay, let's just soldier forth. Let's sally forth. Beyond individual doctors, some research is probing links between COVID and cancer behavior. Excuse me. For example, a 2022 study in Frontiers in Oncology explored how SARS-CoV-2 proteins interact with cancer cells. It found that the virus's membrane, M protein, can induce the mobility, proliferation, and in vivo metastases of triple-negative breast cancer cells in the lab breast cancer cells exposed to the viral protein, essentially became more aggressive and invasive. So it causes cancer to become more aggressive. The researchers concluded that COVID-19 infection might promote aggressive cancer phenotypes and warned that cancer patients who get COVID could face worse outcomes. Now, to be fair, if you do have cancer and you get any illness, you're in trouble, right? Because your immune system's already compromised. So that's that. But this is taking it a step further, right? It's not that people just with cancer who have been diagnosed with cancer are getting an illness and then that's triggering something else, which we've seen before. It's people who have had no cancer, have not been diagnosed with any cancer, and all of a sudden they get sick and it's activating some latent cancer within their body and it's turbocharging it. Oh, fucking shit, dude. While this is one specific context, breast cancer cells, and one viral protein, it underpins Soon-Shiong's general concern the virus can directly alter the tumor microenvironment to the cancer's advantage. Another line of evidence involves latent viruses and inflammation. Doctors have documented unusual reactivations of viruses like Epstein-Barr, which is linked to lymphomas and other malignancies during the COVID-19 and post-vaccine immune reactions. Such reactivations hint at a period of immune dysregulation that might also let nascent cancer cells slip past defenses. Of course, fact checkers and medical authorities argue that there is no credible evidence of vaccines causing meaningful immune suppression. I mean, we just read something that in 2016 they had data. There isn't evidence to date that COVID-19 vaccines cause cancer or lead to worsening cancer, one infectious disease expert told factcheck.org. Okay. Though they do acknowledge rare side effects like myocarditis or blood clots were found, but not cancer. So if you're acknowledging that the myocarditis was found and the blood clots were found, and we know that seizures have been happening, and we know that in 2016 they acknowledged that it affects more than half of the women who get pregnant, why all of a sudden you get to cancer and you're like, oh, but not this one thing. No, not that. No. It doesn't add up. Okay. We're finishing up here. Finance data insights post-COVID health trends. While the scientific community debates mechanistic links between COVID and cancer, independent analysts, have been parsing population-level data for unusual patterns. One notable effort is by the Finance Technologies, a research firm co-founded by former BlackRock portfolio manager Edward Dowd. Finance has been analyzing excess mortality and disability data since the pandemic, looking for signals of broad health impacts in the aftermath of COVID and mass vaccination. Their findings reveal concerning trends, especially among younger, working-age populations, that lend some weight to Dr. Soon-Shiong's general warning of a post-COVID health crisis, though not specific to cancer alone. Finance's vaccine damage report examined the U.S. population aged 16 to 64, essentially the workforce, and stratified outcomes into 4 groups: no effect, mild injuries, severe injuries, disabilities, and death. By the way, I'm a pureblood, so no COVID shot for this guy. Never will be. Using official government databases, the CDC, Bureau of Labor Statistics, etc., they estimated how each category changed starting in 2021 when vaccines rolled out and COVID became widespread. The results are sobering. According to Finance's analysis, by the end of 2022, the U.S. had experienced approximately 310,000 excess deaths among adults aged 25 to 64, a roughly 23% increase in mortality in that group over normal expectations. A rise in unexpected deaths by 23% in 2021. Notably, they argue that after mid-2021, with vaccines available and the virus itself becoming less deadly due to immunity and milder variants, due to immunity. How did we do that? Oh, yeah, the immune system. That's right. Remember that thing we discussed a little bit earlier? COVID-19 should not have been causing such high excess death rates. Therefore, those 310,000 unexplained deaths in 21 and 22 could represent an upper bound on vaccine-related fatalities or other pandemic collateral damage. Here's the last paragraph, okay? Even more even more striking is the data on new disabilities. Finance found that from early 21 through late 22, about 1.36 million additional Americans ages 16 through 64 became disabled, a 24.6% rise in disability in that cohort, far above historical trend. This jump in disabilities among the workforce correlates in time with the vaccine rollout and was disproportionately higher in the labor force than among those not working. And think about all the strain that now places on the economy and our infrastructure and everything like that. That now all of these people have to be cared for in some way, shape, or form. Whereas these people would have been just fine. Maybe they had a little something here or there, but they would have been fine otherwise, and they were a productive member of society. Now, they need some kind of specialized care. Think of the strain that puts on our system. Jesus, tap dancing Christ. The analysts, Jesus Christ, note that the healthiest segment of the population, employed working age adults, saw a greater relative increase in disabilities after quarter one of 2021 than the older or non-working groups. This is unusual since typically health shocks hit the elderly hardest. But here's something was impacting younger, healthy people to a significant degree. Finance investigated further and found a tight relationship between the cumulative number of vaccine doses administered and the rise in disabilities in 21 through 22. In fact, for the 16 through 64 population, they computed a ratio of about 4 new disabilities per excess death in that period, suggesting many survivors were left with lingering health issues even if they don't die. Oh my. Oh my. Goodness gracious. What do you do now? I can't imagine. This is, it's pretty terrifying, right? It's pretty scary. I don't know what you can do if you receive the shot or the boosters or anything like that. I've seen, you've probably seen it, heard it maybe on, have you seen this? Have you heard about this? Facebook, social media somewhere where people are advertising, like spike protein detoxes. And I'll be honest with you, my father, a little over a month ago, had just turned 70, had a seizure. He's never had seizures before. And they have no idea what caused it. He went to the hospital for a few days, did all the tests, all this, that, or the other. They have no idea what caused it. And he had been working at a nursing home. And for whatever reason, he got the shot and then he got some boosters. Oh, Lord. So, and when he was in the hospital, I was visiting him. The doctor was in there who was very nice. I brought it up. I said, what have you seen in regards to, say, like vaccine damages? How have people been damaged by the vaccine? Have you seen anything like this? Have you, do you have any information? Is there any talk in your community whatsoever? And he looked at me like I had two heads. They're not talking about this in the medical industry, and if they are, it's well behind the scenes. They're not going to tell you. They're not going to talk about it, not in your doctor's office. If you have a doctor who will openly talk to you about this, you might have a good doctor. But try it next time you go to your doctor. Try it the next time you take your kid to the doctor, or the next time you're with some kind of medical professional. Bring this up. See what they say. See how they react. See if they either, A, just completely dismiss it and dismiss you as some kind of conspiracy theorist, even though like all the conspiracies in the past 5 years have been true. See if they look at you like you've got two heads. There is a reckoning coming for the medical industrial complex. Things are about to change big time. There's a lot of people, a lot of doctors, and a lot of these fucking dancing nurses, these pieces of shit. they're in a world of shit. And God willing, so is Anthony Fauci. Anyway, there's that. And that there was also another, and this was on, well, this is via vigilantfox.com. This is Dr. Suzanne Humphreys, speaking of vaccines, Suzanne Humphreys on the Joe Rogan show, giving some interesting information about the polio vaccine, saying that the polio vaccine did absolutely nothing to get rid of polio, and that polio, well, let's just get into it. Let me get into a few different pieces like this. Dr. Suzanne Humphreys, former board-certified nephrologist and co-author of Dissolving Illusions, Disease, Vaccines, and the Forgotten History, just made a bombshell appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience, and what she shared will completely change how you think about vaccines. Let me get to a few. I won't go through this whole one as well. I just want to get to some highlights, and we'll move on to something else. Most people are told vaccines are safe and effective with no real downside. Yeah, there you go. That's what your doctor's going to tell you right to your face, right? But Dr. Humphreys pulled back the curtain on decades of deception, starting with a major turning point in 1986 when President Reagan signed the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act into law. Before that, vaccine manufacturers were getting hammered with lawsuits. Humphreys explained that after the 1976 swine flu vaccine disaster, Guillain-Barré cases were piling up. It got so bad that the companies couldn't even get insurance. Okay. Let's go. Companies like Wyeth, now Pfizer, admitted their vaccines were unavoidably unsafe. Yet instead of making them safer, they were handed blanket immunity. Let's see. Let me get to some of the cutting corners in safety testing. The few studies that exist with saline placebos show how bad the vaccine actually is and how it makes you not only not respond to the disease when it comes around, but more susceptible to it in many cases. When the conversation turned to polio, Dr. Humphreys blew just about everyone's mind on the internet. She challenged one of the most sacred beliefs in modern science, that vaccines eradicated polio. The truth is that polio wasn't... Now, this is what she's saying, okay? I am not a doctor. I am not a medical professional, okay? I am just reporting on what this woman is saying, okay? She's saying that the truth is that polio wasn't actually eradicated. Polio is still here. Polio is still alive and well, Dr. Humphreys declared. It's just that a few sleights of hand made the world believe otherwise. The real change that happened, according to Humphreys, wasn't the vaccine's impact, it was the definition. Polio is called different things today, Humphreys explained, whereas back in the 1940s and 50s, the criteria for diagnosing polio were completely different to the year that the vaccine was introduced. The playing field, the goalposts, everything was changed. They were able to show a complete cascading drop of paralytic polio simply because of the way they changed the definitions of what polio is and what could cause it. After the vaccine rollout, cases would have been diagnosed as polio were now labeled as Guillain-Barré syndrome, Coxsackie virus, whatever the fuck that is, echovirus, or chalked up to lead or mercury poisoning. She also pointed to another key factor, environmental toxins. The rise in polio diagnosis, she said, mirrored the use of toxic chemicals like DDT. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. And when it comes to the polio virus itself, it's not quite as harmful as people think, she said. Humphreys explained that polio is actually a commensal, a virus that lives in most people without causing harm. 95 to 99% of all polio is asymptomatic, Dr. Humphreys described a study of the Javante Indians where 98 to 99% of every person they tested had evidence of immunity to all three strains of polio, yet none of the children were crippled. They were like, we don't have any of that problem, she recalled. So basically what she's saying, that they used the virus of polio. There were people getting sick from other things, the use of DDT, other environmental factors, and other diseases, and the pharmaceutical companies convinced everyone that these were actually, all of these things were caused by polio, because if you got tested for polio, well, it's going to show you have polio, but it's very latent, and it's not actually causing harm. It's just sitting in your body because everyone kind of has a version of polio. It's very asymptomatic. Says 95 to 99% of all polio is asymptomatic. But they convinced everyone that everyone getting sick at the time through the use of chemicals like DDT were actually getting polio. So they were able to convince everyone, well, if you get our vaccine, it'll go away. And then as we found cure for other things and we stopped using DDT and environmental factors changed, the polio started, people became well, right? Stopped getting as sick. And they're like, see, our vaccine worked. Oh, boy. There was one thing I wanted to... Dr. Humphreys also raised concerns about a link between vaccines and food allergies. It's very well known that the vaccines that have aluminum in them skew the immune system. Aluminum is added to many vaccines to make the immune system react more strongly. But when that reaction happens, the immune system can mistakenly target other things in the body, like food proteins. For example, if a baby is exposed to something like peanuts or eggs around the time of vaccination, the immune system might mistakenly tag those foods as threats, potentially leading to a long-term food allergy. And then there's the mercury. Did you know that if a mercury-containing vaccine drops on the floor, the hazmat people have to come in and take that away? Yet we inject it into 3-month-old babies. Vaccines might look like a clear liquid, but the process behind them is anything but clean. According to Humphreys, it often starts with diseased animal tissue, like monkey kidneys or even pus scraped from an ulcer on a cow. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. In Humphrey's book, she credits clean water, improved sanitation, better nutrition, and better overall living conditions, not vaccines, for the dramatic decline in infectious disease. This was, I found this on Zero Hedge, but this is via vigilantfox.com. You have been lied to about everything. Everything. I'll just speak for myself personally. But when it comes down to things like this, if I'm going to trust nature and God versus a guy in a lab, man, I'm trusting nature and God. I'm not saying that there are no medicines that work. There are many medicines that work. There are many things that work. There are many things that have allowed us to thrive and help us on a daily basis. There is nothing wrong with the research. There's nothing wrong with doing the studies. There's nothing wrong with doing the work, so long as the work is done with good intentions. And it doesn't appear that any of this work is really done with good intentions. It is, every single bit of it is done with profit in mind, or something more nefarious. If it comes down to who I'm going to trust, if I'm going to trust the Almighty or if I'm going to trust man, I'm going to trust the Almighty. Gave us an immune system, an incredibly strong immune system, for a reason. To keep us alive from shit like this. And there's when I was young in 1984, I think I received a total of 4 vaccines, I think it is. I received the polio vaccine. I received MMR. What else? I think DTaP. And that actually might have been it. And I believe that's exactly, my wife was born in 89. And somehow yet she remains 28 years old. I don't understand how. It's beautiful. She was born in 89. And I believe she received the exact same ones I did. But then in 90 and 91, that's when the CDC vaccine schedule really got out of hand. And now they take something like 18 to 33 different vaccines, something like anywhere from 50 to 70 shots, injections, by the time they're 24 to 36 months old. Does that make any fucking sense, that to take a 2 or a 3-year-old human being, this perfect little creation, a miracle, the purest form of a human there will ever be, right there, right? unmolested by all the bullshit of humanity, just a pure form of a human being, little miracle, and we just start pumping it full of chemicals. 50 to 70 shots by the time they're 3 years old. Does that make any fucking sense? That's not medicine. That's an experiment. That's child abuse. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. There's a reckoning coming. All right, let's move on. This article, I don't know if we'll get into this, but this just caught my eye because it does have to do with these vaccines as well. This is from Reuters. U.S. prosecutors probe tip about timing of Pfizer's COVID vaccine. Jesus fuck. The Wall Street Journal reports. March 27th, federal prosecutors in Manhattan are probing a claim by GlaxoSmithKline that Pfizer delayed announcing its COVID shot's success in 2020 until after that year's election, the Wall Street Journal reported, citing people familiar with the matter. The report said on Wednesday that GlaxoSmithKline's former head of vaccine development, Philip Dormitzer, had told his colleagues about the delay by Pfizer, where he worked before joining the British company. However, Dormitzer has disputed the claims of his former colleagues. My Pfizer colleagues and I did everything we could to get the FDA's emergency use authorization at the very first possible moment. Any other interpretation of my comments about the pace of the vaccine's development would be incorrect. The Wall Street Journal report that the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York, which includes Manhattan, is taking a closer look at GSK's claims. We cannot comment because we have not received any inquiry from authorities about a so-called delay, but Pfizer remains ready, willing, and able to explain why any allegation of impropriety is utter nonsense, Pfizer told Reuters. U.S. President Donald Trump has claimed in the past that Pfizer sat on positive data from the vaccine's clinical trials, but there was no evidence. Hey, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., you got some fucking work to do, man. How about you stop worrying about anti-Semitism being a health issue for the public and you worry about this crap? Stop worrying about anti-Semitism and racism as a public health issue and worry about this poison. That's your job. Get to work. This is something that Trump needs to take his hands off of. He doesn't have any idea what this is about. He doesn't understand this stuff. He trusts people like Larry Ellison. He trusts people like Larry Ellison, the founder, owner of Oracle, who wants to have AI develop like custom, specialized, individualized vaccines. You know, he just hears technology and he hears science and stuff, and people give him flowery words, and he's like, "Oh, that sounds like a good investment." That was a bad one. That was a barrel Trump. Don't tell people I did that, please. Fuck. He thinks good investment, right? He thinks of everything from a business standpoint. He needs to let Robert F. Kennedy Jr. do whatever the fuck he wants to these vaccines. Prosecutors are planning more interviews in the coming days. Reports said adding Pfizer officials have not yet been interviewed. Okay. All right. Oh, my goodness gracious. Okay. Let me see. All right. We've got a few more things. We got some more entertaining things to talk about. We have some things that are a little on the brighter side of life and some random shit that is just kind of crazy that we're going to get into and we're going to comment on and we will react to and whatnot. There was one thing. Okay, a few things. I'm going to go fill up my water. Be right back. And I'm back. Okay. Let's get into it. Let's change gears. What's this? I actually haven't seen this yet. I just saw this is on Yellow Flash. If you don't know Yellow Flash, check out Yellow Flash on YouTube. Entertainment, culture commentator. Good stuff. Releases a few videos every day. What's this, though? I haven't seen this yet.
Story time on how politics ruined my
God damn it. Loud. Hold on a second.
last relationship. So let me set this.
Okay, so if you're listening, this is a blonde woman with glasses, and the title of the tweet is, "This is why men are walking away." This is, oh God, this is 3 minutes and 51 seconds. I don't know if we'll, let's see what happens. Jesus Christ. Look at this. Woman. Oh. Okay, we'll go back to the other one, but there's just so much random shit. Here, woman tackled by security guard in Walmart. So there's a police officer, or I guess security guard, and a big fat black woman sitting in a rascal scooter. And it looks like she's making a mess on the floor. Let's see what happens.
Drag me the fuck out!
Of course, she's offended by something. Oh, she's in checkout. Okay. So she's... She says, "Drag me the fuck out," and she starts taking all of her SNAP benefit food that's on the conveyor belt, and she's throwing it all over the place, and she's wrecking shit. She says, "Drag me the fuck out of here." Now she's assaulting him. Now she's assaulting him. And he throws her to the ground.
Yes, ma'am.
And everyone's like calling him white trash.
Damn, I love Walmart.
Oh my God. And of course she's calling racist and everything, and there's like 100 people standing around all recording. Walmart is racist, Walmart is racist. Offended by everything, accountable to nothing. Are his actions justified? Yes. Let's go back to this woman.
Story time on how politics ruined my last relationship. So
God.
let me set the scene for you. I was dating this guy. We've been dating for 5 months. And in those 5 months, I was told by my friends, "Zoe, he lives in Indiana. He's a fucking Republican." I was like, politics don't matter to me.
Oh my God.
What was that wrong? And so I was like, it's fine. I don't care. I'm going to get to know him first. We'll decide later. So then, we kind of start talking about it. I'm a very liberal woman. So I am obviously, like, very much, everyone knows that I'm a liberal woman. My brother's gay. All my friends are gay. Also, like, abortion rights, female rights.
Oh my God. Oh my fucking God. I feel so sorry for young men. I feel so sorry for young men. I am so lucky to have my wife. I am so blessed and grateful to have my wife. You guys are in a world of shit. I'm so sorry, young bucks. I'm so sorry.
But anyways, so I would like always ask him. I'd be like, what's your politics? Like, where do you lean? And he was just like, well, like socially, I'm a liberal, but economically, I'm a Republican.
Socially, I'm a liberal, but economically, I'm a Republican. Okay.
Fuck that. Okay. Also, he was a 28-year-old man. That's the first red flag, because if there's a 28-year-old man and he's single, there's a fucking reason that he's single. But
how old are you? A 28-year-old man that's single. Okay, I guess. I don't know. All these 35 and 40-year-old women who are hitting the wall and they're single because they've got 3 babies by 2 daddies. And they probably could have had a guy. This is the thing. This is probably going to end up, this guy was probably a decent dude, and he probably would have continued to have a relationship with her maybe, and maybe they would have gone somewhere, right? And she may have had an opportunity to actually marry a decent guy, but she pushed him away. And then when she's 35 or 40 years old and she's lonely and she either A, has 3 kids from 2 baby daddies, or she's living alone with her cats and her box wine and her Xanax, she's going to be convincing herself that she's happy as happy can be, or she's going to have a mental breakdown and she's going to say, where are all the good men at? When you could have had one.
But anyways, so then I'm like, well, like, what makes you, economically Republican? Because, like, I could give you a whole bunch of fucking facts right now that prove that you shouldn't be. And
I would love to hear your idea of what your liberal economic facts would be. Which part of the Joe Biden economy helped you the most?
And he was like, all of his info is from his friends. And I was like, you get all your information from your fucking redneck friends. Obviously, you can't trust them. You need to do the research yourself. And if you do
I wonder where you get your research, sweetheart.
the research, I told him, I was like, I'll support you based on your decision if you actually research it yourself. Like, I won't care if you're a Republican. But anyways, and so he was like, Zoe, I have much better things to do than research politics. Like, I have way more important things to do. Okay.
Oh, my God, dude. This woman's going to be single for a long time.
Saying that to me is absolutely fucking insane, but go off, King. I also...
Oh, my God. I cannot believe people fucking talk like this. And my 9-to-5 job, I'm not going to tell you where I work. Don't fucking ask. My 9-to-5 job at a corporation, they have hired a bunch of people, a bunch of Zoomers, who unironically talk like this in professional communications. Like, they will send professional communications to customers and other people throughout the company with LOLs and LMAOs and talk just like this in their emails and their messages. And I'm just like, this company's about to be fucked. Anyway.
So just didn't care at that point.
Okay.
And so I kind of put it on the back burner. I was like, I can't fucking take this right now. Well, then we get into a little spat. A couple days before Election Day. And we almost broke up.
How much is left of this?
And so I was like, nah, it's fine. I'll give him one more chance, blah, 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 blah. Well, then Election Day rolls around. And, well, actually, before this, he was not registered to vote. He had never voted before. And he told me that he wanted to vote in this election. And I was like, okay, cool. Do the research. But that's a whole other thing.
What's your fucking research, sweetheart?
And so the voter registration deadline was approaching. I could tell he was going to vote against me.
Okay, so then why do you stay with the guy? Like, you seem to hate everything about him. Why are you with him? Is it because you're desperate and you're worried that you're going to stay single the rest of your fucking life? Probably.
Just say it like that. And so I was like, he is not going to make an educated decision on who he votes for. So guess what? I'm not going to remind him of this voter registration deadline. So then it passed. He didn't register to vote. So there we go. It was saved. He wasn't going to vote. I wouldn't have to deal with it then. But then we got into that little spat, and I was like, let me try one more time. Let me see if he's learned anything from me. And
oh my God, dude. She thinks she is here to educate everyone on how to run their life. This woman she'll be single the rest of her life. The only kind of man that she's going to get is some beta cuck male that she doesn't respect, that she can walk all over, and she won't respect him. So she'll step out on him.
I asked him point blank on Election Day, I'm like, so who would you have voted for if you would have voted in this election? He was like, I would have voted independent. And I was like, do you know that how harmful and basically wasteful that is? And also, like...
So you don't respect him. You never respected this guy at all, right? You're not even willing to...
check your privilege by saying you're going to vote independently.
What?
Basically wasteful that is. And also, like, check your privilege by saying you're going to vote independently.
This woman is one of the most fucking retarded people I've seen in a long time. And it's sad because there's going to be a lot more women thinking like this. And you know why? It's because they go on and they see women talking like this and they get an emotional gratification because it's like they're just looking for someone who agrees with their point of view. And a lot of women are going to come on and they're going to find this woman and they say, "Oh my God, she thinks just like I do. She's right." And they're going to support each other and not even think about what the fuck they're saying. It's only because they received a positive emotional response from someone agreeing with them, regardless of if it's based in fact or truth or reality or anything at all. So long as someone's agreeing with them and saying, "Yes, you're right," that's all they care about. Doesn't matter if it's based in truth. If someone says, "Yes, you're right," it just gives them that emotional positive response. And that's all they're looking for.
And he was like, "Wow, Zoe, I cannot believe that you think my vote would have been a waste." Ah! Shut the fuck up, because it is a waste.
Up.
Look at fucking Philadelphia. All those independent voters could have put us over the edge and could have helped Kamala win.
So it wasn't a waste, not to them. It wasn't a waste to them. You don't respect other people's opinions.
That's another story. And so I was like trying to tell him, I was like, "Listen,
Yes.
that's harmful. You have to make a decision because the way that our voting works, like the two-party system, is a fucking joke. You have to pick a side."
There it is. There it is right there. There it is. You have to pick a side. You have to pick a side. And you have to pick a side, and I respect whatever decision you make. And then you pick a side that goes against them, and they fucking hate you. Again, because you went against what they were expecting, right? So it hurts them emotionally. It hurts her feelings that you disagreed with her. She just wants her opinion reinforced. That's all she wants. She doesn't really want you to make your own decision. She wants you to think that you're making your own decision while see how she's trying to push this guy in a certain direction, but she's also trying to give the illusion that she actually respects his opinion. But if he makes his own decision, even if it's based in fact, even if he's uncomfortable making the other decisions, she doesn't respect it because it went against her opinion, and that hurts her emotionally. And she takes that as a personal slight because she is a woman and she thinks with her feelings.
The independent party never has a chance. So you have to pick a side. And we got into a huge argument about it. And I was like, you know what? Fuck this. This is my last straw. Again, I'm a very liberal woman.
Oh, I can tell.
I have to date someone that is on the same page as me.
She's going to end up dating a liberal cuck who she doesn't respect. This guy said, "You know what? I'm not going to do whatever the fuck you tell me to do." And that she didn't get the positive emotional response. So she's going to go looking for someone who says, "Oh, yes, queen. I agree. Kamala all the way. AOC all the way." And she's going to go, "Oh, good little boy."
Because I can't disagree with someone on something that is so important to me for the rest of my life. I fully respect Republicans. I understand.
It doesn't sound like it.
That you want to vote that way, but for me, I don't want to marry you and I don't want to date you. So we ended it.
Good.
And no regrets. I've been single ever since. It was awesome.
I've been single ever since. I bet you have. You'd better get used to that. You better get used to that.
That you want to vote that way, but for me, I don't want to marry you and I don't want to date you.
Good. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, women. Thank you for putting yourselves out here like this. Men, young bucks, if you hear this, go on social. I'm sure you guys already know to do this, but you can research social media now. Anytime you find a girl you might be interested in, you want to go out on a date, go on social media and look for her. I'm sure she's posted something out there, and you find this, and then you ghost her. I don't care if it's the ghosting. You don't want to be anywhere near this. Okay? So thank you for breaking up with that guy. You spared him a lifetime of pain. Thank you for doing that. You fucking psycho. Mother of God, dude. Jesus fuck. Oh boy, what's next? What is next? What do we got? Some entertainment, some funny things. Let's get into maybe some entertainment, but let's do something random real quick. That's not it. This is so in Turkey, in the country of Turkey, there are some riots going on right now because President Erdogan, or is it Erdogan or Erdogan? He arrested the opposition's front runner for the presidential elections. And there's some shit going down. Here's the riot police were out in full force. And here's Pikachu. He's moving well. So Pikachu is in the riots in Turkey. Here's another angle of Pikachu. Let's get a better one. Here's another one. There was another video I saw. There he is right there. Look, there's Pikachu in the middle of the riots in Turkey. There was something else. But what the hell is going on? What is going on in Turkey? Look at this. Is this AI? I don't think this is AI. What the hell is going on in Turkey? There's the riot police. I don't think this is AI. Is it? There's the riot police, and then there's a guy dressed up like Heath Ledger's Joker, and there's Pikachu carrying the Turkish flag, and there's Spider-Man, and there's Batman standing on top of a fire truck, or like a police riot truck. What is going on in Turkey? Anyway, let's move on to some entertainment. What the fuck happened here? Oh, that left. Well, okay. So if you didn't know, if you haven't seen this, if you heard about this, the Avengers Doomsday marketing video came out. They released the cast. They announced the cast, I should say, for Avengers Doomsday. And just at first blush, it looks like it's going to be a bloated, hot mess. Now, it's unfair to criticize something that hasn't even been created yet. So it is. It's unfair to do that. But this is... Let's just get into it. Jesus Christ. This is from That Park Place, March 26th. Avengers Doomsday cast marketing video fails badly with fans. Snooze fiesta of Z-tier characters spells trouble for MCU. Marvel Entertainment ran an incredibly slow-moving live video premiere on X in order to promote the Avengers Doomsday cast. It did not go well. The MCU is in a strange place. Nearly every one of its Disney Plus, and by the way, this stream they had where they announced, let's see, here it is right here. This stream, this is the Avengers teaser. And it's basically just the cast. They're revealing the names on the chairs. You know, like the set chairs that they have with people's names on it. And here's the lineup. This video is only like 1:43, but the stream itself was something like 5 hours. But it's going to have really big names. So it's Chris Hemsworth, Vanessa Kirby, Anthony Mackie. I mean, there's a whole bunch here. I'm not going to do... Sebastian Stan. Let's see. Letitia Wright. Paul Rudd. Wyatt Russell. Tina Huerta Magia. Ebon Moss. Which is... It's got a whole bunch of people. Simu Liu. I'm not going to go through this whole fucking thing like this. Just give me the fucking cast. But there's like, it's something like 27 huge names. They got like all the original Fox X-Men back, like Kelsey Grammer, Rebecca Romaine Stamos. They've got James Marsden and Patrick Stewart. And there's just, it's just, and of course, Robert Downey Jr. And what it tells me is that they learned all of the wrong lessons from Deadpool Wolverine, because Deadpool Wolverine was just a big cameo slop fest. If I watched Deadpool Wolverine in the theaters, and it was, I would give it like a 5 out of 10. It was very good seeing Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman do their thing as Deadpool and Wolverine. They were very good. But outside of that, the rest of the movie is just pretty fucking stupid. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's just a big cameo slop fest where they said, here's your fucking cameos. Here's the characters you like. Now buy the tickets and shut the fuck up. Which I think is, it seems like that's the same thing they're going to do here. Oh, and it's got like Chris Evans. It got Chris Evans back, the original Captain America, and it also has Anthony Mackie in it. So my question is, what are you going to do? Are you just going to have the real Captain America and then an alternate universe Captain America? Is that what you're trying to say? Because that doesn't make sense. So is Anthony Mackie going to revert back to Falcon? But you have a new Falcon. And yes, they're in the same universe, remember? Because Anthony Mackie now is Captain America, because in his universe, Chris Evans' Captain America retired. So they don't know what the fuck they're going to do. The MCU is in a strange place. Nearly every one of its Disney Plus live shows has been a ratings disaster. The same has become true for its box office results unless the film features Wolverine or Spider-Man. Now the studio needs redemption fast before it becomes on par or worse than Star Wars in terms of cultural irrelevancy. I think most people are just not going to care about this. And by the way, the cast alone, the budget on this is going to be it's probably going to be at least $600 million. I mean, if they're spending something like $400 million on Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, that movie cost $400 million. They've got to spend at least $600 million on this. They're going to have to make, in order for this to be like an actual success, financial success, they're probably going to have to make at least like 1.5 or 1.6, like $1.5 billion. They probably are going to be looking for this to make $2 billion. And I don't know if there's enough people who care or that still care that that's going to happen. They just pushed so many people away. Captain America Brave New World just flopped in theaters massively. The latest Daredevil is a streaming slump machine, with Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four First Steps looking shaky at best. The hope was the next Avengers movie could save the day. Instead, the reveal of basically every celebrity appearing in the movie has had the opposite effect. Lame appears to be the game that Marvel is playing. Oh, let's see. Vanessa Kirby, Anthony Mackie, Sebastian Stan, Wyatt Russell, Tina Mejia, I think that's the guy that played Namor. Ebon Moss-Backrack, Simu Liu, Florence Pugh. These were some of the names that painstakingly crawled across the multi-hour video. Yeah, nobody cares. I liked Falcon. I liked Winter Soldier, but you ruined those characters. By the way, why do people like Florence Pugh so much? She's incredibly average in both appearance and acting ability. I don't get it. I really don't. If this was supposed to excite Marvel fans, it must have been opposite day at Disney. Sure, there were a few notables listed like Chris Hemsworth, Patrick Stewart, Tom Hiddleston, Kelsey Grammer, but most of the names were double downs on shows and movies that have been utterly rejected by fans. Fears that Marvel would stuff this ungolden goose with Young Avengers, Shang-Chi, Black Widow hand-me-downs, Eternals, and other unpopular properties were seemingly confirmed. It's as if failing wasn't enough the first time for Kevin Feige and these Z-tier roster choices. Instead, we're getting a $500 million production budget bonanza or characters nobody knows. Excuse me. It's going to be more than that. It's going to be more than $500 million. I firmly believe that. Okay. At this point, with just how badly received Marvel has been for the past 5 years, it's time for the studio to return to its S-tier roster of characters. Focus on them and make the best possible movie they can with those characters. Spider-Man and Wolverine together. Bring in the X-Men. Rogue and Storm, Cyclops and Jean Grey. Get Rocket and Star-Lord back on the silver screen together. But this craziness of stuffing a new Captain America and Thunderbolts characters together for an Avengers movie? Oy vey. That was them, not me. This could be the film that makes Snow White look like a winner. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't know if this is going to make money, though. The one caveat, if these characters get 5-minute cameos while the properties that... Let me start over. If these characters get 5-minute cameos while the properties that sell are starring on the screen, I'll take back the prognosis. But for now, this is a patient in need of surgery. The surgery is amputation of the last 3 phases of Marvel. I don't know anyone who's like super duper excited about this other than shills who get paid by I don't know. I'm sure there are some people, but I don't know if normies care about this, and they need the normies to come into the theater in order for this to make money. But I mean, if you look at just how the trend of their recent movies, normies have stopped caring. I mean, again, it's the Deadpool Wolverine formula. That's what they're banking on. That movie made $1.4 or $1.5 billion. And of course, they took the wrong lessons from it. They always do. Speaking of Disney, here's something on... So March 20th, this is posted by Rothmus on X. From Variety, Disney shareholders overwhelmingly reject proposal to sever ties with LGBTQ rights group at the annual meeting. How well's that working out for you? Anyway, and speaking of Disney as well, we're talking about Snow White. I don't even think it's made $100 million yet. Let me check something real quick. But I wanted to read another post if you haven't seen this. Let me see the numbers. There it is. Financial information for Disney Snow White. Holy Jesus. Just our annual check on this fucking dumpster fire. Our daily check. What the fuck did I say? As of March 26, $93,996,000. This movie might not make $200 million. Certainly doesn't look like it. $50 million domestic, $43 million international. Go fuck yourself, Rachel Zegler. So the Sun, this is funny. Let's watch this, okay? This is via Colin Rugg on X. The son of the Snow White producer, Mark Platt, absolutely unleashes on Rachel Zegler for ruining his father's movie. Jonah Platt is ripping the 23-year-old actress for getting political and ruining Snow White. The comment from Platt was found on Instagram after one user asked why his dad flew to New York City to talk to Zegler about tanking the movie. Platt specifically blamed Zegler and her narcissism for the film's flop. And here's Zegler.
And to everyone who hates when I win.
My God.
The winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces. And to everyone. And to everyone.
I'm so sorry.
Who hates when I win.
Uh-huh.
The winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces.
She's comparing herself to one of the most famous pieces of artwork in history. This reminds me of the woman we reacted to just a bit ago. Right? She's right. Everyone else is wrong. The only reason things are going bad is because everyone else is doing something to her. She has to educate us on why we're wrong and she's right and why we should like her.
And people still line up to see her.
But they're not lining up to see you.
And I can only hope.
Uh-huh. Doesn't she look like she has fetal alcohol syndrome?
That despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them.
Jeez, this is fucking awful.
That at every premiere.
Yes.
And everything I do.
Oh my God.
People will wait in line to see.
No. And then, oh God. And then this is her sitting in a theater by herself, watching her own movie, having an emotional breakdown.
And
Wait a minute. She's in a theater here by herself watching it. It looks like the only other person... What's behind her? Is that the janitor? See that? Oh, no, it's a coat. Whatever.
and to
But anyway, Jonah Platt, the son of the Snow White producer Mark Platt, so he's responding to someone on Instagram who says, "Your dad flew to New York City to reprimand a young actress? Any words on this? Because that's creepy as hell and uncalled for. People have the right to free speech, no? Shame on your father." Jonah Platt responds, "You really want to do this? Yeah, my dad, the producer of enormous piece of Disney IP with hundreds of millions of dollars on the line, had to leave his family to fly across the country to reprimand his 20-year-old employee for dragging her personal politics into the middle of promoting the movie for which she signed a multi-million-dollar contract to get paid and do publicity for. This is called adult responsibility and accountability, and her actions clearly hurt the film's box office. Free speech does not mean you're allowed to say whatever you want in your private employment without repercussions. That is true. Tens of thousands of people worked on that film, and she hijacked the conversation for her own immature desires, at the risk of all the colleagues and crew and blue-collar workers who depend on that movie to be successful. Narcissism is not something to be coddled or encouraged. Bravo, sir. Bravo. Very well said. We need to have more conversations like this. People need to be getting told a lot more often. And you can see no one's telling these young women no. Their parents have destroyed their lives by handing them every single fucking thing that they asked for and telling them how good and special and smart they are in everything they do, even if they fucking suck at it. This is the everyone gets a trophy generation because we can't hurt anyone's feelings. We have to support everyone's feelings. And then when these people who think their feelings matter more than anything else in the whole wide world get out into reality where the vast majority of the world doesn't give a fuck about your feelings, they don't understand why they're getting pushback because they've never received pushback before. And because it's all feelings, they take everything as a personal attack, a personal slight. And so they think everyone else is evil and hateful because they think they're always being personally attacked. Because they can't think logically, they can only think with their feelings. And because they become depressed and anxious, emotional disasters, they have to take SSRIs and Xanax, which just makes them even more destructive emotional and mental disasters. Good. Good. There's Pikachu running in Turkey. Okay. We're going to wrap it up real quick. Oh, I know one thing I wanted to touch on real quick. First of all, here's Swedish. Okay, apparently, Swedish state television produced the documentary The History of Sweden, portraying Africans as the first Swedes. Let's take a look. This is 44 seconds. So this is Swedish state TV showing the founding of Sweden, the discovery of Sweden. And if you can't see the screen, it's some black people wearing some pelts. So it's like black people with blue eyes or bright eyes. It's kind of blurry. Walking through Sweden, they've got pelts and hats on and spears. And they're hunting something in the Swedish backcountry. I don't know what they're doing. And now they're screaming, and they're running after an elk or caribou of some sort in Sweden. This is awful. And, of course, it's based on the debunked out of Africa theory. Yes, the out of Africa theory has been debunked. The 3 oldest human remains and genomes, or I don't know if that's technically the correct description, but there was one that was discovered in sub-Saharan Africa, but there was also one that was found in the Mediterranean that was just as old, and the oldest one they found was actually found somewhere in Siberia. So we've got 3 different points over the world where they found the oldest human remains. One in Africa and one in the Mediterranean. And you can look this up. You can knock yourself out looking this up. And then the oldest one they found was in Siberia. So that was just interesting. The last thing I want to finish on is, Harry Sisson, this piece of shit? Remember this guy? Do you remember this guy who... where'd it go? So let's see. Harry Sisson threatened to sue... So basically, Harry Sisson, who's called himself a male feminist, convinced a bunch of women, or He tried convincing like a dozen women to send him nudes, and it was trying to convince them, oh, it's like, no, you're the only one. I don't have anyone else. Come on, baby. You know, that old bag, that old chestnut. And then he also threatened to sue a woman for $500,000 over racism, being anti-Israel, and then called her from a blocked number and told her he would kill her all because she found out that the creepy Frenchman he worked for was grooming an autistic 14-year-old on Discord. Lying to procure sexual access is not a quirky little boys will be boys incident. No, it's indicative of dark triad traits, which is why none of his behavior surprises me. It's always the male feminists, isn't it? But then he came out. Oh, one more thing. Here's this is a while back. This is Harry Sisson and his thoughts on abortion.
To get an abortion, it's the baby that's getting harmed. I mean, it has its own heartbeat and brain waves.
Yeah, I just don't assign value to like a fetus before 20 to 24 weeks. So like if a
He assigns no value to a fetus. He assigns no value to a human life just because he can't see it out in the world.
mother's like, yeah, I want to get a fetus, I want to get an abortion at like 10 weeks, I have no problem with that.
Okay.
Because he has no value for human life.
I see. I don't know why we'd give value to that fetus.
No value for human life.
Well, because it...
And that's evident because of, look how the way he treated women. He doesn't value them because he doesn't value human life by his own admission.
I mean, you were once a fetus. So was I. Everyone was. I mean...
Correct.
It turned...
So?
Well, it will turn into something beautiful. It could.
So?
I don't know what he's trying to prove other than he's just a terrible person.
So?
Like, there's potential in everything. So we...
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. But apparently he's apologized.
I want to talk openly and honestly about this entire controversy that has exploded in...
Controversy? You're a fucking creep.
...in the past week. First and foremost, I want to start by saying I fucked up. I should have told the people I was talking to that there were other people, and of course I regret that decision, and I've reflected on it a lot. And
Did you regret the decision to threaten to kill somebody and, you know, get like a dozen women trying to send you nudes? Or trying to get them to send you nudes? Do you regret that? So you regret the fact that you were caught doing it for several women and not just one woman.
I'm learning and going to be better in the future.
Oh, there it is. I'm learning. I'm growing. I'm going to be better.
Now, what I will say is that this entire situation has been blown wildly out of proportion by MAGA Republicans to further their political agenda. Like,
it's the same old thing every single time. They can never, ever, ever accept responsibility. The only responsibility they ever accept, heavy air quotes, accept, is that they say that what he just said, what he just did. It's like, oh, I apologize. I'm learning. I'm growing. Now, let me tell you why this is really happening. Let me blame everyone else.
we all know that they don't actually care about this. They just hate me. That's why.
We're not the ones who are trying to get men to beat up women in women's sports. We're not the ones who want men to invade women's spaces like their locker rooms and their bathrooms. That's you.
Why they care. I mean, when has MAGA ever cared about women?
They are so unbelievably disconnected from reality. It's like they don't think that you can just get online and search for the truth. It's like they don't think that you have access to it. Because they just don't acknowledge that it exists. It exists.
Also, MAGA has been spreading misinformation about the situation, so I want to set the record straight.
Oh, please
I was
do.
not in a relationship with anyone. I wasn't exclusive with anyone. I never met anybody in person. I never spoke to anybody on the phone, and it was done among consensual adults.
So just because you weren't exclusive, just because you didn't meet them in person or anything, it's okay for you to try to pressure them via like Instagram or Snapchat to send you nudes and then to threaten them and lash out at them when they don't? I've never done that. I don't think any of my friends have ever done that, not that I know of.
That's it. It was a very casual thing. Additionally,
very casual in terms of the threats, or...
we as Democrats have to get better at recognizing someone who makes a mistake and can learn from that mistake, and someone...
You're a fucking creep. You're just a bad person that, by your own admission, doesn't assign value to human life.
who does actual harm to a community. We
like you
cannot, as a party, just attack and demonize people who make mistakes, people who are learning from their actions. If we
Oh, God. We have to be better, which means right now you have to be better by not criticizing me. I'm trying to help you take a step in the right direction. I'm trying to teach you how to be better. Use me as an example. I'm teaching you. Don't criticize me. I'm helping you.
Ever want to hold office ever again and actually win an election?
That might not happen.
Our umbrella should be as wide as possible, and we shouldn't be trying to silence people or push people away.
Speaking of elections and all that fucking good shit, this is, again, people see this and they see you not accepting responsibility. This is another reason people are leaving the Democratic Party, of massive dishonesty, lying, and not holding yourself accountable. Democrats do not have the ability to look themselves in the mirror and hold themselves accountable and admit that they were wrong. Don't you ever wish you could just say to a Democrat, ask them, have you ever stopped to consider that you might be wrong? Have you ever stopped to think, maybe I'm wrong? Just a very simple, direct question. It's a yes or no question. And it's interesting because if they answer yes, then you got to think, well, then why do you still believe this crazy bullshit? And if they answer no, you think, okay, so you're really a fucked up individual. Either way, it's bad.
Who are vocal on these issues. And the final thing I'll say about this is that people involved in this situation released my private text messages, private photos of me, intimate details about me that intended to stay private without my knowledge or consent. Okay. I didn't consent to any of that. A complete violation of my privacy. And I think that regardless of your political beliefs, you can agree that that's wrong. I certainly wouldn't do that to somebody, and I know you wouldn't either. One thing...
You were a fucking pervert, and people called you out for it. Maybe if you didn't want women dumping your perverted text messages onto the internet, you shouldn't have sent them perverted text messages, you pervert.
I'm particularly proud of my generation for doing is moving past this idea that we should idolize politicians beyond their impact. However, I'd like to...
Idolize politicians beyond their impact. So why would you support Kamala Harris? Because she's had no impact other than a negative impact. The only reason you would support her is beyond her potential impact, because if you endorse her and you idolize her because of her impact, you are idolizing a negative impact on society. But so you're either admitting that you idolize her negative impact, or you're admitting that you idolize her beyond her impact. Which is it?
Look at the other side of the coin. When politics becomes a game of pointing out any small mistake someone makes,
yes,
we are putting our feelings above what truly matters.
No, we're pointing out reality. If you see mistakes and you say, I don't care about those mistakes because I don't care about those specific facts, you are indeed thinking with your feelings. Pointing out mistakes is pointing out facts. And not only maybe in policy, but in character. Pointing out reality is not feelings. Ignoring reality is feelings.
How we are all impacted by the actions our leaders take. And I'll conclude with this. I have some bad news for MAGA. I know they thought they could use this situation to try to take me down or silence me. But that was never going to work.
Okay.
I'm still going to be vocal about the things I care about and fight for the things I care about. And if that upsets MAGA, then so be it.
So you're going to keep fighting for the abuse of women? Good for you, Harry. Good for you. Jesus fucking Christ. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna wrap it up for the day. If you made it this far, I sure appreciate it. If for some reason you liked what you heard on this stream, please hit the like and the subscribe and everything. And I may be back this weekend, probably not tomorrow, maybe Sunday, but definitely Monday. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Please stay safe. Please do your best to get outside if it's nice where you are. Get some vitamin D. Touch grass. Okay. That's what I'm going to do. Anyway, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Have a wonderful weekend. God bless.